G'day ladies and gentlemen, my name is Cody, and in this video I'm going to be walking you through how to UV unwrap and texture this model. Now before we get started, I would like to apologize if you can hear my dog in the background. We recently got him a new bed and he's just kind of trying to get used to it. So first thing that I would like to do is I'm actually going to increase the poly count. Prior to what I said last video, the lower the poly count, the more warped the textures are going to look. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase the subdivisions up a little bit. So I'm going to increase this up to 4 and the arms and feet up to 3. This is going to lower the texture warping. It's just going to look a little bit nicer. You can see that doing so we get these the space between all the polygons gets smaller and smaller, so there's less room for any warping. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to open up into this UV editing tab, and I'm just going to press A. I should probably turn on screencast keys. It's very fiddly sometimes. So as you can see, this model is already this part of the model is already UV unwrapped, but this isn't a great unwrap for this model. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to select the part that's going to be our face. And because of Kirby's very unique design, it's very simplistic. Any parts with the detail, we want to try and take up as much of the UV space as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have his face take up 1/4 of this entire UV square. And I'm going to have the rest of the body kind of take up the remaining 3/4. So all we have to do is, once we have our face selected, pressing A over this, we can just press S and then 2 to scale it up by a factor of 2. Then just pressing G and Control to snap this to the grid. We just want to move this over to the top left corner. And then we're going to do the same thing with every other face, but for me I'm going to move it down to the bottom left. So just A, S, 2. I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to quickly fly through this. Feel free to pause the video and do this yourself. It may take a little bit of time because this can get quite tedious depending on how you've set up your model. There we go. So now if I select this model, you can see that we have these. Most of the body's taking up this half of the UV space. So we're going to do the same thing with these arms, but this time I'm actually going to leave this basic UV unwrap the way that it is, because in this case it's going to be very simple. Why does this 0.5? Sorry. So for the arms, I'm actually going to move these up to the top right. So part of the reason why I'm moving up to the top right rather than the bottom left, like I did with the rest of the body, is that, you know, down the line, if I want to change the color of these arms at any point, I can. And I'm going to do the same thing with his feet. So scale 0.5 down to the bottom right. So most of the time you're going to want to UV unwrap and then texture and then create the textures, and sometimes you'll want to paint. So as you can see, I've tried to maximize the amount of UV space that I have. So it's typically at this point that you will export this UV map, and then you just want to move on to your image editing software of choice to create the textures. Alternatively, you can also do painting inside Blender. I'm not going to really get into that in this video, but if you'd like to see that, let me know, and I'll cover that in another video. So now that we have this this model completely UV unwrapped, you would typically go to make our texture, but for me, I already have one that I made while trying to record this video before. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply that texture. So I'm going to hit new to assign a new material. Then I'm going to head down to where it says base color and click on this yellow dot. And it's going to bring up this menu. I'm just going to find where it says image texture. So just clicking on that. We're going to bring up this new little menu. So this is typically if you have any, this little drop down here is where you're going to find any textures that you have loaded in. Hitting new is going to allow you to make a texture that you can draw on, but for me, I'm just going to hit open. I'm just going to scroll down to where I've got my texture. So here we have this one, Kirby texture.psd. So this is just a Photoshop file. That's going to look something like this for my model. And then if I hit texture, and I also you can see that this arm down here. So I should probably explain what I just did. This little drop down up here, you can change how the model appears in the viewport. So by default, it's typically set to material. But sometimes when you're working in a texture space, you kind of want to change this to texture. So I'm just going to do the same with all these and just apply this material. But I'm going to show you a nice quick way. Just apply the same material to many different objects. So just holding shift, clicking every other object, and then the last thing you want to do is you want to click the object with the material that you want to apply. Then you want to press Control L, and it's going to bring up this little menu, the little link menu. It's going to hit link materials. And ta-da, we have a fully textured Kirby. Good video. No. So as you can see, things don't quite look right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to rotate this texture so that way it lines up a little bit nicer. There we go. And you may think, okay, this is perfectly fine. This is good. But if you look closer, you can see that there's these small little seams kind of across the entire model. So there's a few ways to fix this. One of them would be, you could select all these faces and just set it to individual objects, just scale them down just a tiny little bit, and that'll fix the seams. But as you can see, now we have this issue of right here on these cheeks, they're just getting cut off. So for me, the way that I'm going to fix this issue is I'm actually going to go down to where back into our material settings. You can see right under this base color, in the texture, we have this linear drop-down menu. I'm just going to set this to closest. And as you can see, that fixed all the issues with the seams, and we have his cheeks nice and round. But as you can see, zooming in, you can see all these pixels. Now, in my case, this isn't really much of an issue, as you're never really going to zoom in this close on this model. But for your models or for your style, for the characters that you're creating, this may not be an option. So you just have to be very careful. And sometimes maybe the scaling down of the UV maps is probably going to be a better choice for you. But for me, I'm pretty happy with this. So I'll quickly show you what I mean by the texture is going to warp. So if I just bring this back down to what I had it before at the start of the video, back down to 2, you can see that his eyes, there's just a little bit of warping right down here, right up, especially in this top left corner of his eye up here. You can see that it's just got this little bit of a dip and a dent in his eye, and we don't really want that. So just increasing the subdivisions will fix that. We have this nice high poly Kirby model ready for rigging. So let's just have a quick look at how long I've been recording. 11 minutes. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a quick run through on how to create a very simple, nice looking toon shader for Kirby, because Kirby is a very cartoonish character. So I'm just going to head into this shading property, the shading workspace. I'm going to set this to rendered view. So for this part, we're actually going to have to enable an add-on. So if you don't already have this, we're going to have to enable the Node Wrangler add-on. If you don't have this installed, you just go down to Edit, Preferences, and it'll bring up this menu. And then in the add-ons option, you just want to look up Node Wrangler. For me, I already have it enabled, but if you don't, just click on this, just check this little box, and it'll install automatically. It's one you don't have to look it up or anything. It's automatic. It's automatically packaged with Blender. You just have to install. I just have to enable it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually disconnect my texture for now. I'm just going to work on this principal BSDF shader. So I'm just going to increase this up to a full white. And then I'm going to go Shift A up. I keep forgetting that the the screencast keys can be a bit fiddly. It doesn't like changing between workstations. I don't even know what you would call these, but I'm just going to change it up to so you can get screencast speeds back. I can't talk tonight. I'm very tired. It's currently nearly 1:30 in the morning while I'm recording this for you guys. So we're going to go Shift A, search, and just going to look up a shader to RGB. I should also mention that this node in particular won't work if you're using the Cycles engine, or you'll have to be in Eevee for this node to work, for this shader that I'm about to show you to work. So doing that, we're going to go Shift A again, and we're going to look up a color ramp. I'm going to set this to constant, and we're just going to drag this. I'm going to go 0.25, I think, and that'll give a nice little effect. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go and look up what's known as a Fresnel node. So what a Fresnel will do, also to do what I'm doing, is you want to press Control Shift click, just left click, and that'll allow you to quickly view what the node is doing. So the way that a Fresnel works is it takes the input of the camera or the view, and then it just goes from a value of 0 to 1 based on how far away the normals are pointing. So, or how perpendicular the normals are to the camera. So sitting right in, so when it's like directly faced on, it's going to have a value of 0, and as you get further and further to the edge, it's going to get lighter. So this is great for mimicking something like an edge light. So I'm going to go Shift A again, and now I'm going to just look up a color ramp again. And I'm going to set this also to constant. I'm going to drag it. I'm going to drag mine to about 0.1 because I found that looks about good for this model. So I'm just going to do that. Have our two things lined up. I'm going to look up mix now. I'm going to set this to color, and then set this to screen. I'm going to drag them both into these slots. Set the factor to 1. As you can see, now we have our nice light hitting it with a nice little bit of edge lighting. So one thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just lighten this up just a little bit. I'm going to set it to about 0.5. Nah, bring it up to 0.1. I like that. So just dragging this back out, giving a bit of room. What we're going to do is we're going to look up another mix, but this time we're going to go mix shader. Sorry, no, we're not. Sorry about that. We're going to look for an emission shader. But now we will need a mix, and we will set this to color again. Sorry. I'm going to set this one to multiply, dragging in our texture into the top slot, and our little shading effect into the bottom. I'm going to set this one to 1 again. Then we're going to drag this into our emission. I'm just going to shift click, and here you go. Now we have a nice shaded Kirby. I'm just going to drag this down. Actually, I think I will keep it at 0.5. It has a nice softer shadow. Now what we can do is I think we can just set this all the way to black. And we have this nice cute little Kirby. I'm just going to change the light to something like a sunlight, set it to 10, and just rotate it just a little bit. Here you go. So that's how to UV unwrap, texture, and give a little bit of shading to our model. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through on how to rig this model. So that's going to be a little bit more involved. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.